My late wife's sister is trying to sabotage my new relationship. What do I do? I've started going out with someone about a month ago, 3 years after my wife died. Late wife's sister messaged her on Instagram lying about me. What do I do? Hi everyone. Sorry this is long, but maybe something I did here could be the reason for this? So I'm just gonna tell you all everything and maybe anyone has ideas what I can do, because I'm just so angry right now I want to explode. So I'm just typing it to calm myself down. Sorry if it's a mess. I was married to a wonderful woman. We dated since college before getting married 10 years ago. We have a 7-year-old son together. About 3 years ago my wife died. She was suffering from a chronic illness for many years and had a surprising complication during surgery. Crohn's if it matters to anyone. I was devastated, and it was really hard to explain to my kid, who was 4 at the time. We were both in a very bad place. We had great support systems in the form of my parents and siblings and my late wife's parents and sister, 28F, or so I thought. They were all there for me and my son and offered a lot of help. But still, I was in a pretty bad place, and I admit I may have dropped the ball on a few things regarding my son. My wife, whenever he'd go to a new place, daycare, kindergarten, etc., would immediately befriend some of the parents, and my kid would immediately have a lot of playdates and make friends. Since she passed, I failed at this completely. I was never the friendliest guy, and with my wife gone, I got even more withdrawn. This resulted in my kid being bullied in 1st grade. The school didn't really do anything and I got frustrated. So this ended up in me going over to some parents' houses, losing my cool and making a whole lot of threats and smashing a few garden decorations. It worked, because they seemed to back off, but at the same time my kid still didn't really have any friends, and my own reputation went to crap. Suppose I earned that. During that time, my wife's family were supportive and helpful, but also thinking back, her sister would sometimes throw jabs at me about how her sister would have handled it better, how I was constantly messing up, etc. It was overall jokey and not common, and I appreciated everything she and her parents were doing, so I didn't make a huge deal out of it, but it did hurt. Also, I started noticing how they would constantly talk up my late wife whenever I did something, and I didn't really blame them. I talk her up a lot too. She was wonderful, and I think I did a good job of making sure she felt loved and appreciated in life, but I still am having trouble coming to grips with just how much I miss her and how much she meant to me and did for me and our son. And yeah, how much better off we would all have been if she was still around, and all this mess wouldn't have happened. Still, them constantly bringing it up also really makes me feel terrible about how I'm handling things. I know I'm not as good at a lot of this stuff as she was, but I'm doing my best, and constantly hearing how I'm messing up and how much better she would have done isn't helping any. But this wasn't really common, and didn't seem too offensive, but I still needed to do something about my kid. So I had my son transfer schools over the summer, and this time I did what my wife would have done. I reached out to some parents, got some playdates and activities going before the school year even started, and it was hard for me, but also it paid off. My kid started 2nd grade a few months ago and is thriving. He has friends and is constantly over at his friends' homes, or brings friends over to ours. But this means I suddenly found myself with a lot of time alone, and it has been kinda rough. I go to therapy since last year after the threats and the ruined gnomes, and it helps, but at the same time my therapist is not my friend. My new friends are great, but they're all couples, and I'm still very alone, and yeah, I had my wife do all the social heavy lifting for me before. I get it, but I didn't really keep in touch with what is essentially her friends, and even if I did, they're also all married or in relationships and I'm still the odd one out. I just wanted to try and find someone again who'd maybe help me feel something like I did with my wife, a connection. So I signed up to a dating app. I actually had a relatively good experience. I went on a few dates and it was nice. However, when I was visiting my wife's family the following week, her sister apparently had seen me on the app and said she couldn't believe I was looking to hook up instead of concentrating on being a father. I told her I wasn't looking to hook up, but was genuinely looking for a relationship. She said this was even worse, because I was replacing her sister so soon, and was bringing another woman into my son's life who wasn't his mother. Her mother stuck up for me at first, and said it had been long enough, and it's good that I'm moving on, but my SIL said I wasn't really moving on. I was just looking for a bangmaid because I was doing such a shitty job of raising my son and taking care of my home. I lost it and told her to go F herself, and how dare she talk like that to me in front of my son, who was really upset by now. We got into a huge fight before I took my son and left, but during it I was accused of being a terrible father and terrible husband, and at that point my MIL and FIL were completely on my SIL side. I want to think that a lot of the things they told me about me not helping around the house enough, or not being involved enough weren't right, and my wife wouldn't actually tell them those things about me, and I think I was a good husband and a good father, and nothing my wife ever told me made me think she didn't think I was. But also it got me really upset and I haven't spoken to them since. This was about 2 months ago, right after my kid started at his new school, and I was feeling really proud of myself for handling it and being a good dad, and this just deflated me completely. I wasn't certain I never want to talk to them again, but I didn't want to talk to them right now. About a month ago, I started dating someone new, 34F. We've been getting along really well and been seeing each other practically every other day. Because I thought this could turn into something serious, I brought her over to meet my kid. They really hit it off and it's been great. With that out of the way, I made the mistake of uploading a picture of me and her to my social media, since we talked and decided we were going to be exclusive, and this was a serious relationship for both of us. I was really happy and felt like I was starting to move on with my life, and that my son was in a good place, and for once in 3 years things were going my way. Well, today my GF asked me to meet, and I did. She showed me her IG DMs. My SIL reached out to her. She sent her a message telling her how she was my late wife's sister, and she saw our picture. She wrote that she, though my GF, should know that I was a terrible husband, and I was neglecting and mistreating my wife. She said I had been unfaithful, that I've been a terrible dad. And what's worse, she sprinkled in things that were true to make the rest feel more believable. So she told her about my son having to transfer schools because I was threatening parents and kids, which I know I was, but I was in such a terrible place and have been working so hard to move past it. She told her that I was manipulative and financially abusive, that I was a narcissist. It was heartbreaking to read because up until signing up to the apps, I thought even if they sometimes talked crap, they did care about me. I explained to my GF that some of it was true, but that some was complete lies. I never treated my wife badly. I tried really hard to be a good father and a good husband, and I really think I was. I was always trying to support her dreams and interests. I was doing my share of housework and parenting, even though I worked more. And I get it. Maybe I wasn't good enough, but I was good. I didn't lie or cheat or isolate her or any of that stuff. We talked a lot, and I thought she was happy. When we fought, there wasn't any name-calling or belittling or any ugly stuff that I can think of, and we talked and worked things out. I never did most of the things her sister said I did. Certainly none of the stuff she said I did to her, and this is killing me. My GF said she needed some time to think, and I didn't want to bother her with texts or calls because I did all I could to convince her, and I hope she can get past that. But honestly, I can't blame her if she can't. And if she says this is a deal breaker for her, there isn't really much I can do about it. But even worse, what do I do about my SIL? My blood is boiling, and I have no one I can really talk to about this. And hell, even if my GF breaks up with me and I try to move on, what if she does it again? I just don't know what to do, and I'm so angry and so heartbroken. I just wanted to write this all out to tell someone, and maybe someone here has an idea. What do I do about my SIL? Is it anything I did to cause her to do this? And most importantly, is there a way I can reasonably reach out to my GF to convince her without disrespecting her boundaries?